The silence has been one of the hardest parts. Not the battles you expected, not the disappointments you learned to endure, not even the seasons when people walked away and left empty spaces in your life. The silence, the moments when you prayed with all the sincerity in your heart and heard nothing in return. The days when you searched for reassurance and found only uncertainty. The nights when you looked back over everything you had endured and wondered why the answers seemed delayed. For many people, pain is difficult. For the chosen one, silence can feel even heavier because silence often arrives after faith has already been stretched to its limit. You kept believing when circumstances gave you reasons to stop. You kept moving when your strength was fading. You kept hoping when visible evidence seemed absent. And yet, despite all your effort, there were moments when it felt as though heaven had gone quiet. What makes this season especially difficult is that very few people understand what you have been carrying. Many have seen your smile, but never witnessed the battles taking place beneath it. Many have heard your words, but never understood the weight behind them. You have carried burdens that few people ever noticed. You have walked through disappointments that left invisible scars. You have experienced rejection that made you question your value. You have faced loneliness that could not be explained simply by being surrounded by people. There were moments when you felt alone even in crowded rooms, because what weighed on your spirit could not easily be shared. Yet through all of it, something remarkable remained alive inside you. You continued. Even when your emotions felt exhausted, you continued. Even when answers seemed delayed, you continued. Even when recognition never came, you continued. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. Many victories in your life happened quietly. They were not celebrated publicly. They did not receive applause. Nobody gathered to acknowledge the courage it took to survive certain seasons. Nobody truly understood how much effort it required just to keep showing up each day. Yet those quiet victories matter. Those unseen moments matter. Every time you chose faith instead of bitterness, something valuable was happening within you. Every time you chose kindness despite being hurt, your character was becoming stronger. Every time you resisted the temptation to give up, a deeper resilience was forming. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. Sometimes the greatest work happens beneath the surface, where human eyes cannot see it. Consider how many important things in life develop quietly. Seeds grow underground long before anyone sees the first sign of life above the soil. Foundations are laid beneath buildings before the structure rises into view. Healing often takes place internally before visible strength returns. In the same way, some of God's most meaningful work occurs during seasons when nothing appears to be changing. That can be frustrating because human nature longs for visible confirmation. We want evidence, we want signs, we want immediate reassurance. Yet many people later discover that the period they thought was empty was actually the period when everything was being prepared. There is a reason your journey has developed strength that cannot be easily shaken. You did not become resilient because life was easy. You became resilient because life required you to endure. The challenges that tested you also taught you. The delays that frustrated you also matured you. The disappointments that broke your expectations also revealed abilities you never knew you possessed. Not every struggle you endured was meaningless. Some struggles revealed how much courage already existed inside you. Some struggles taught you how to stand when circumstances became uncertain. Some struggles developed wisdom that can only come through experience. Looking back, there may be seasons you never would have chosen for yourself. There may be chapters you wish had unfolded differently. There may be losses you still carry in your heart. Yet even within those painful experiences, something valuable was being shaped. The seasons that tested you were also shaping you. The loneliness taught you self-awareness. The rejection taught you that your worth cannot be determined by other people's opinions. The delays taught you patience. The uncertainty taught you trust. None of those lessons were easy. Most arrived through circumstances you would never have requested. Yet they became part of the strength that now lives within you. Sometimes the chosen one assumes that if God is working, there should always be visible movement. But life does not always unfold that way. There are seasons of action and seasons of preparation. There are seasons when doors open quickly and seasons when growth happens internally. The difficulty is that preparation rarely feels exciting while it is happening. Preparation often feels like waiting. It feels like wondering. It feels like questioning whether anything is changing at all. Yet preparation can be one of the most important stages in any journey because it develops the person who will eventually step into future opportunities. Your story has value, even if it has not unfolded the way you expected. Some of the strongest people are not those who avoided hardship. They are those who learned how to carry hardship without allowing it to destroy their spirit. They learned how to remain compassionate despite disappointment. They learned how to remain hopeful despite uncertainty. They learned how to continue believing despite delays. That kind of strength is rare. It is easy to remain hopeful when everything works perfectly. It takes a different kind of character to remain hopeful when answers are delayed. Perhaps that is why your journey has often felt different. You were being developed in ways that could not happen through comfort alone. There is a quiet strength within you that was built during moments nobody else witnessed. There is wisdom within you that was gained through experience. There is compassion within you that was formed because you understand what it feels like to struggle. These qualities are valuable even when they go unnoticed by others. The world often celebrates visible success while overlooking internal victories. Yet internal victories are often the ones that matter most. Learning to forgive when you were hurt is a victory. Learning to keep going when you wanted to quit is a victory. Learning to trust during uncertainty is a victory. Learning to maintain kindness after disappointment is a victory. Some of your greatest victories happened quietly when nobody was watching. God saw the tears that nobody else noticed. God saw the moments when you sat alone carrying burdens you could not explain. God saw the times when you questioned yourself. God saw the effort it took to keep moving forward. Nothing was overlooked. Nothing was forgotten. Even when life seemed silent, your journey remained seen. That truth matters because many people mistakenly believe that silence means abandonment. It does not. Silence can simply mean that work is happening in ways you cannot yet recognize. The chosen one often finds themselves in seasons where growth happens before understanding arrives. Meaning becomes clearer later. Purpose becomes clearer later. Connections between events become clearer later. At the time, everything feels confusing. At the time, everything feels uncertain. Yet many people eventually look back and realize that what seemed random was actually preparation. What seemed delayed was actually timing. What seemed empty was actually development. If you are in such a season now, remember this. Your value has not decreased because recognition has been delayed. Your purpose has not disappeared because progress feels slow. Your future has not been cancelled because the present feels difficult. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. The challenges you face do not define your identity. The disappointments you endured do not determine your destiny. The silence you are experiencing does not mean your story has ended. There is still meaning ahead. There is still growth ahead. There is still healing ahead. The fact that you have continued through everything you have faced already proves that there is something powerful within you, a strength greater than fear, a resilience greater than disappointment, a faith that survived seasons many people would never understand. Hold on to that truth. Let it remind you that silence is not the final chapter. Let it remind you that unseen work is still work. Let it remind you that even when answers seem delayed, your journey remains significant. You have come too far to believe that your story was meaningless. You have endured too much to believe that your perseverance has no value. The quiet season is not evidence that nothing is happening. Sometimes it is evidence that important things are being built beneath the surface. And while you may not see every detail today, you can trust that the same God who carried you through previous storms has not forgotten you now. His silence is not indifference. His silence is not absence. His silence is not abandonment. And one day, you may discover that during the moments when you felt most uncertain, He was working more powerfully than you ever imagined. There are seasons when the greatest challenge is not overcoming an obstacle, but enduring the uncertainty that surrounds it. You wake up each morning carrying responsibilities, expectations, memories, and hopes. Yet beneath all of that, there is a quiet longing to know that what you have been through has meaning. The chosen one often carries this burden in silence because explaining it to others feels impossible. People may see your daily routine. They may see your accomplishments, your obligations, your conversations, and your outward composure. What they rarely see is the inner weight you have carried for years. They do not see the prayers whispered in private. They do not see the disappointments you kept hidden. They do not see the moments when you felt exhausted, but continued moving forward anyway. They do not see how many times you encouraged others, while secretly needing encouragement yourself. Yet every one of those moments mattered. Every unseen act of perseverance became part of the foundation that now supports you. There is a reason you are stronger than you used to be, even if you sometimes feel tired. Strength is not always loud. Strength is not always dramatic. Often, true strength looks like showing up again after disappointment. It looks like choosing faith after confusion. It looks like remaining kind after being misunderstood. It looks like refusing to let bitterness take root in your heart, even when life has given you reasons to become bitter. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. There were times when being compassionate made you vulnerable. There were times when giving your best was not appreciated. There were times when your loyalty was met with indifference. Yet despite everything, there remained something within you that continued to choose goodness. That is not weakness. That is strength of the highest kind. Many people become hardened by their pain. You survived your pain while still keeping part of your heart open. That is rare. That is valuable. That is something worth recognizing. Sometimes God works powerfully by protecting you from outcomes you once desperately wanted. Looking back across your life, there may be situations that felt devastating when they happened. Doors closed, relationships ended, plans failed, opportunities disappeared. At the time, it felt like loss. At the time, it felt like disappointment. At the time, it felt as though your hopes were being taken away. Yet with the wisdom that comes from time, some of those moments may now appear differently. You may realize that certain paths would have led you away from where you truly needed to be. You may realize that some delays protected you from unnecessary pain. You may realize that some endings created space for growth that would never have happened otherwise. This does not mean every loss becomes easy to understand. Some wounds take longer to heal. Some questions remain unanswered for years. Yet even when understanding is incomplete, purpose can still exist. The chosen one often discovers that what seemed like a setback was actually preparation. What seemed like rejection was often redirection. What seemed like an ending was frequently the beginning of something deeper. This truth becomes especially important during seasons of silence because silence tempts people to assume the worst. Silence can make you believe that nothing is changing. Silence can convince you that your efforts are pointless. Silence can whisper that your hopes are unrealistic. But silence does not always tell the truth. Beneath the surface, growth may already be taking place. Healing may already be happening. Opportunities may already be forming. The future may already be moving toward you, even when you cannot yet see it. Think about how much of life develops outside human awareness. The heart beats without conscious effort. Wounds heal beneath the skin. Trees develop roots long before branches become visible. Entire seasons of preparation occur before the harvest arrives. The same principle applies to your journey. Some of the most important developments in your life may be occurring beyond your current view. This requires trust, not blind optimism. Not pretending difficulties do not exist. Genuine trust. The kind of trust that acknowledges hardship while still believing that hardship is not the end of the story. The kind of trust that recognizes pain without allowing pain to define everything. The kind of trust that says this season is difficult, but difficulty is not forever. You have already survived moments that once seemed impossible. There were seasons when you thought you could not continue, yet somehow you did. There were chapters when your heart felt broken, yet somehow healing began. There were periods when you felt completely alone, yet somehow you found enough strength to keep taking one step after another. The fact that you survived those experiences should remind you of something important. There is a strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. That strength was present when tears fell in private. It was present when answers never arrived on schedule. It was present when nobody seemed to understand what you were carrying. It was present when life felt uncertain, and it is still present now. Sometimes the chosen one underestimates how much growth has already occurred, because growth often feels normal once it becomes part of who you are. You may not notice how much wiser you have become because you live with that wisdom every day. You may not notice how much stronger you have become because that strength now feels familiar. You may not notice how much compassion you carry because expressing compassion has become natural. Yet if you could compare who you are today with who you were years ago, you might see remarkable change. You have learned lessons that could only be learned through experience. You have developed resilience that could only be built through perseverance. You have gained perspective that could only come through hardship. None of this happened accidentally. Every season contributed something, even the difficult ones, especially the difficult ones. One of the greatest struggles for many chosen ones is feeling overlooked. You may have spent years giving your best while receiving little recognition. You may have watched others receive opportunities that seemed to arrive more easily. You may have wondered why your path appeared longer or more complicated. These feelings are understandable. Human beings naturally desire acknowledgement. We want our efforts to matter. We want our sacrifices to be seen. We want our faithfulness to produce visible results. Yet some of the most meaningful work happens away from public attention. Character is developed in private. Integrity is proven in private. Perseverance is strengthened in private. Faith is refined in private. While public recognition may come and go, these deeper qualities remain. They become part of who you are. They shape how you respond to challenges. They influence every future opportunity. They prepare you for responsibilities that require maturity and wisdom. This is one reason the silent season should never be mistaken for a wasted season. A season can appear unproductive while actually being deeply transformative. You may not be where you want to be yet, but that does not mean you are where you used to be. Progress is not always obvious. Sometimes progress is measured in patience. Sometimes progress is measured in healing. Sometimes progress is measured in learning how to trust again after disappointment. Sometimes progress is measured in finding peace where anxiety once lived. These victories deserve recognition too. They are not small. They are not insignificant. They are evidence that growth is occurring. God has not forgotten the sacrifices you made. He has not forgotten the prayers you prayed. He has not forgotten the moments when you remained faithful despite uncertainty. He has not forgotten the times when you chose integrity, even when shortcuts seemed easier. Nothing has been wasted. The tears were not wasted. The waiting was not wasted. The lessons were not wasted. Even the struggles that seemed endless carried value you may only fully understand later. For now, it is enough to remember that silence is not proof of abandonment. It is not proof that your future has disappeared. It is not proof that your efforts were meaningless. It is simply a season. And like every season before it, this one will eventually pass. What remains will be the strength you gained, the wisdom you acquired, the faith you protected, and the character you developed. Those treasures cannot be taken away. They remain with you. They continue shaping your path. And they stand as evidence that even now, during moments that seem quiet, something meaningful is still unfolding. Your story is still moving forward. Your purpose is still alive. Your value remains unchanged. And the God who carried you through every previous chapter is still present in this one, working in ways that may not yet be visible but are no less real. One day you may look back on this season and realize that what felt like silence was actually protection, preparation, healing, and guidance happening all at once. Right now, it can be difficult to see that clearly because you are living inside the process. When people stand in the middle of a storm, they rarely understand its purpose. When they are walking through a valley, they cannot always see the landscape beyond it. Perspective often arrives later. Understanding often arrives later. Clarity often arrives later. Yet even without complete understanding, you can still hold on to a powerful truth. Your life is not defined by this moment alone. This chapter matters, but it is not the entire story. The disappointments you experienced are real, but they are not the final sentence. The delays you endured are real, but they are not the conclusion. The loneliness you carried is real, but it is not your permanent destination. Too many people judge their future based on what they currently see. They assume that today's struggle predicts tomorrow's outcome. They assume that present limitations determine future possibilities. They assume that because life feels difficult now, It will always feel difficult. Yet history is filled with examples of lives that changed in ways nobody expected. Seasons change, circumstances change. Opportunities appear unexpectedly. Healing arrives gradually. Growth accumulates quietly. What feels permanent today may eventually become a memory that helped shape who you became. The chosen one often spends years learning lessons that others overlook. One of those lessons is discovering that worth is not dependent on recognition. You may have spent much of your life feeling unseen. You may have given your best effort without receiving appreciation. You may have supported others while receiving little support yourself. You may have wondered whether anyone truly noticed your sacrifices. Yet your value has never depended on public acknowledgement. Your value existed before people recognized it. Your value existed before circumstances reflected it. Your value existed even during the moments when you questioned it yourself. One of the enemy's favorite strategies is convincing good people that their worth is connected to visible success. If they are praised, they feel valuable. If they are overlooked, they feel insignificant. If they are celebrated, they feel important. If they are ignored, they feel forgotten. But your worth cannot be measured by changing opinions, temporary circumstances, or external approval. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. The hardships you faced never reduced your value. The rejection you experienced never reduced your value. The failures you endured never reduced your value. Even during your lowest moments, your worth remained intact. That truth becomes especially important during seasons when God seems silent, because silence often forces you to discover what is truly stable. When everything external feels uncertain, you begin learning how to build your confidence on something deeper. You begin learning that your identity is not dependent on applause. You begin learning that your peace is not dependent on perfect circumstances. You begin learning that your future is not dependent on everyone's approval. These lessons are difficult, but they create a kind of freedom that many people never experience. Freedom comes when you stop allowing temporary situations to define permanent truths about yourself. Freedom comes when you understand that a difficult season does not make you a defeated person. Freedom comes when you realize that setbacks are events, not identities. Freedom comes when you recognize that God's silence does not erase God's presence. Perhaps one reason you have survived so much is because there is something within you that refuses to quit. There is a resilience in your spirit that continues rising after disappointment. There is a determination that continues moving after setbacks. There is a quiet courage that keeps showing up even when circumstances become discouraging. You may not always feel strong, but strength is not measured by never feeling weak. Strength is measured by continuing despite weakness. Strength is measured by refusing to surrender when life becomes difficult. Strength is measured by taking another step when every part of you wants to stop. The fact that you are here today is evidence of that strength. Many battles never appeared on the outside. Many victories happened internally. You fought discouragement. You fought doubt. You fought fear. You fought exhaustion. And despite everything, you continued. Some days the victory was simply getting out of bed and facing another day. Some days the victory was refusing to give up hope. Some days the victory was choosing gratitude when disappointment felt easier. Never underestimate the significance of those victories. They reveal a level of endurance that deserves respect. The world often celebrates dramatic achievements while ignoring quiet perseverance. Yet quiet perseverance changes lives. Quiet perseverance builds character. Quiet perseverance develops faith. Quiet perseverance prepares people for future opportunities. You may not realize it now, but the endurance you developed during difficult seasons will continue serving you for years to come. It will help you navigate future challenges. It will help you appreciate future blessings. It will help you remain grounded when circumstances improve. One reason many chosen ones feel different is because their journey forces them to grow in ways that are not always visible. Others may see only the surface. They may not understand why certain experiences affected you so deeply. They may not understand why your perspective changed. They may not understand why you value certain things more than you once did. Yet growth naturally changes people. Pain teaches lessons. Healing creates wisdom. Experience develops understanding. You are not the same person you were before these struggles. You carry deeper insight now. You carry greater empathy now. You carry stronger resilience now. None of those qualities arrived without cost, but they are part of the treasure hidden within your story. And your story matters. It matters even if it unfolded differently than you expected. It matters even if some dreams took longer than planned. It matters even if certain prayers have not yet been answered in the way you imagined. The value of your life is not determined by how quickly everything happens. The value of your life is found in the person you are becoming along the way. God saw every moment when you nearly gave up, but kept going. He saw every act of kindness that received no recognition. He saw every sacrifice. He saw every tear. He saw every lonely night. He saw every anxious thought. He saw every silent prayer. Nothing escaped his attention. Sometimes people assume they have been forgotten because nobody else understands what they are carrying. But being misunderstood by people does not mean being forgotten by God. Being overlooked by people does not mean being overlooked by God. Being unrecognized by people does not mean being unrecognized by God. There is comfort in remembering that your life is fully seen, even when it feels hidden. There is comfort in remembering that your struggles have not been invisible. There is comfort in remembering that your journey still matters. As this season continues, allow yourself to remember how far you have already come. Remember the obstacles you survived. Remember the fears you overcame. Remember the challenges that once seemed impossible. Remember the strength that carried you through them. The same strength remains within you today. The same God who sustained you then remains with you now. The same faith that carried you through previous chapters can carry you through this one. The silence will not last forever. The uncertainty will not last forever. The waiting will not last forever. And even before circumstances change, something valuable is already happening inside you. Greater wisdom is forming. Greater resilience is forming. Greater peace is forming. Greater confidence is forming. One day, you may see that this quiet season accomplished more than you ever realized. Until then, continue remembering that your story has purpose. Your struggles have not been meaningless. Your endurance has value. Your kindness matters, your faith matters, your heart matters, you matter. And no matter how quiet this season feels, God has not forgotten you. He is still present. He is still working. He is still guiding. He is still strengthening. And the chapter you are living now is not a story of abandonment. It is a story of preparation, growth, perseverance, and hope. The silence is not the end. It is simply the place where unseen work continues until the right moment arrives.